In the turbulent aftermath of the American Civil War, as the smoke cleared and the nation grappled with the enormity of emancipation, an extraordinary promise was made, a promise that would echo through generations, shaping the dreams and disappointments of millions. That promise, captured in the enduring phrase, 40 acres and a mule, became a symbol of hope, betrayal, and the ongoing struggle for economic justice in America. The origins of this phrase lie in the chaos of 1865, as the Union Army swept through the battered South. General William Tecumseh Sherman, renowned for his decisive march to the sea, found himself not only a military leader, but also an arbiter of a profound social transformation. On January 16, 1865, with thousands of newly freed African Americans trailing his army, Sherman issued Special Field Order No. 15. This order was radical for its time, setting aside roughly 400,000 acres of confiscated Confederate land along the coasts of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. The purpose? To redistribute this land to formerly enslaved families, allotting not more than 40 acres to each household. For the first time, many Black Americans saw the possibility of autonomy and security. Land ownership meant more than economic opportunity. It represented dignity, independence, and the chance to build a future on their own terms. The promise of 40 acres, and sometimes the loan of an army mule to help till the soil, offered a lifeline to people who had endured generations of forced labor, denied any stake in the wealth they helped to create. The vision was bold, but it was also fleeting. As families settled on their plots and began to plant the seeds of new lives, the winds of political change swept through Washington, D.C. in April 1865. President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, and his successor, Andrew Johnson, ascended to the presidency. Johnson, a Southern sympathizer, quickly reversed the progress that had been made. He rescinded Sherman's orders and returned the land to its previous white owners, many of whom had fought to preserve slavery. The federal government, now more interested in conciliation with the South than justice for the newly freed, stripped Black families of their hard-won property. The betrayal was devastating. After a brief taste of freedom and self-determination, most African Americans were thrust back into poverty and dependence. Many became sharecroppers, working the same lands they once hoped to own, trapped in a system that perpetuated exploitation and inequality. The promise of 40 acres and a mule became a bitter memory, a stark reminder of how quickly justice could be denied. Yet, the significance of the phrase did not fade. It grew into a powerful symbol, representing not only a specific historical moment, but also the broader struggle for reparations and recognition. 40 acres and a mule came to embody the broken promises made to Black Americans. The first, but by no means the last, attempt to redress the harms of slavery with tangible compensation. As the decades passed, the phrase surfaced again and again. During Reconstruction, when Black communities fought for political and economic rights, the memory of the unfulfilled promise fueled demands for land, education, and equal treatment. In the 20th century, as movements for civil rights and Black power gained momentum, activists invoked 40 acres and a mule as a rallying cry for reparations and justice. The phrase became shorthand for the debt owed to generations who had labored without pay, whose dreams of prosperity were dashed by racism and broken contracts. Today, the legacy of 40 acres and a mule continues to shape debates about reparations in America. The question persists: what is owed to the descendants of those who endured slavery and its aftermath? How can a nation come to terms with a history marked by both promise and betrayal? For many, the answer lies not only in remembering the past, but in confronting its consequences. Persistent gaps in wealth, opportunity, and security that trace their roots to this pivotal moment. The story of 40 acres and a mule is not just a tale of policy and politics. It is a story of individuals and families, of hope kindled and hope extinguished, of resilience in the face of adversity. Imagine the freedmen and women standing on land that was finally their own, envisioning homes, gardens, and schools for their children. Imagine the heartbreak as soldiers arrived to remove them, as deeds were revoked and futures stolen. These stories, passed down through families and communities, form the emotional core of the phrase's enduring power. In schools and universities, in churches and community centers, the promise of 40 acres and a mule is still taught, not merely as a failed policy, but as a lesson in the complexities of justice. It reminds us that true freedom is not simply the absence of bondage, but the presence of opportunity, the ability to work for oneself, to reap the fruits of one's labor, to build and to belong. The phrase also challenges us to consider the meaning of reparations. Is it enough to acknowledge past wrongs, or must there be concrete action to remedy them? Can a nation heal without addressing the material consequences of its history? For many advocates, the answer is clear. The path to reconciliation must include not only apology, but also restitution. As we reflect on the history of 40 acres and a mule, we see a microcosm of America's broader struggles with race, justice, and memory. It is a story marked by both extraordinary generosity and profound betrayal, a story that continues to inspire debate, activism, and hope. The unfulfilled promise remains a touchstone for those who seek to build a more just and equitable society. Ultimately, 40 acres and a mule is more than a slogan. It is a testament to the power of hope, the pain of betrayal, and the enduring quest for justice. It reminds us that the past is never truly past, that the choices made in moments of crisis can shape the destinies of generations. And it calls us, still, to imagine what might be possible if promises were kept and justice truly done.